What's up, guys? I just finished book number 7 of Vinland Saga, which is the conclusion of the farm arc, the slave arc, whatever it's called. It was the finale of it, and I could have not have asked for a better finale to such an amazing, incredible arc. I think this is obviously my favorite arc of Vinland Saga, which I've only read 2 so far, but I'm sure by far and away it's going to remain the top arc, unless it can somehow top what this arc was able to do with its characters, with its story, its setting, and everything like that. So I don't know. It's very open-ended where this book ended to where Vinland Saga could possibly go from here. So I'm very excited to see what's coming next. But before we get to that, let's just talk about the things that did happen here. Also, real quick, I just wanted to say, I know I said I was going to do a live reaction, live reading of this volume, but as you can imagine with everything that's going on with my channel, if you don't know, I got the strikes and I'm fighting them and whatnot, and I can't upload on the original channel right now as of the filming of this video. Whenever you watch it, things might be resolved, might be different, I don't know. But just because of everything that's going on with the channel right now, I'm kind of keeping it simple and just going back to my usual standard style of reviewing. So if you were looking forward to a live reaction of this volume, I'm very, very sorry, and I apologize that I didn't do it, but I'm at least here with you for a review of every kind of crazy thing that is happening here. So pretty much the theme of Vinland Saga so far, especially the theme of the slave arc, has definitely been the struggle of a true warrior. And what is a true warrior? And what I am inferring from what Vinland Saga is trying to tell me here is that a true warrior's battle is, how do you live peacefully? How do you incite peace? How do you inspire peace? How do you create a world of peace in a world of violence, where violence is completely taken over? Violence is the way of the world, and you are trying to find a way around that. You are trying to find a way to fight by not fighting. You are trying to find a way to be that true warrior, that true battle within you. So how do you do it? How do you do it without violence? And how do you do it without making other people suffer? And this is a really, really hard thing. And this rings true, I mean, in life, I feel like. This is a very strong, powerful sentiment of how do you resolve things without violence. Especially, I mean, look at the world that we're living in now. I'm not going to get into any kind of political or sociological issues, you know, too deeply right here, but I just want to point, you know, a little bit of a mirror at society right now with everything that's going on, especially in America where I live. There's a lot of hate, there's a lot of violence, there's a lot of fighting happening right now in the real world. And I think the point of what Vinland Saga is trying to say is, despite how awful and horrible people can be with the violence, how do you resolve an issue without violence? How do you do it peacefully? And this is, of course, equally or probably much, much, much more difficult back in the world of Vikings, back in the ages where Vinland Saga takes place. Now, Thorfinn had just, in the previous volume, tried to settle this issue with the escaped slave, which was Arnheid's past husband. Sorry, I couldn't remember her name there for a second. Arnheid. And she, you know, they tried everything that they could, and she was able to be with him in his last moments, but she still needs to pay the price according to the world and society at large here, with her being a slave. So she was kind of tied up. Thorfinn and Einar, I've been saying Enor, I'm sorry, it just sounded more fluid as saying it, but okay, Einar is his name, or Enar, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce it. But they are tied up, ready for whatever kind of punishment were to come to them. But Ketil returns to the farm, and he is distraught. He knows the king's coming after them. King Canute is coming, and all he wants is to be comforted by Arnheid. And you see this, and I felt this very like sickening feeling watching this, because I understand what Ketil is feeling, but it's so wrong. It's so weak. It's such a weak mindset. It's disgusting in a way, because this is a guy that framed himself as being this once powerful warrior. We learn in this volume also that he just happened to have the same name as this powerful warrior, and so kind of took on his persona and let people think that that's who he was, when really he was a coward. And we learned he was a coward before, but in this volume it's really, really put to the surface, and he's so much of a coward that he just desires comfort and power. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't work for it. He works hard. He's got his farm and everything, but when it comes to getting people to respect him, when it comes to having that persona of who he is, or who, you know, he was supposed to be, he really just, he doesn't know what to do without that authority, without that title. And so, like, he goes from, on one hand, to acting like he has this ultimate authority by, you know, leading the troops and putting on his armor and saying, we're going to fight against the king and everything. but at the same time, he's so weak that as soon as he returns to the farm, he's just like, oh, I need my comfort. Where's the girl? And we know that, like, for men, girls are very comforting, especially when we're having sex with them, which is pretty much what Ketil expects out of Arnheid pretty much at all times, for sex and coddling, for her to just pet his head, be like, you're a good boy, it's okay, you know, just that comfort feeling. And I understand that comfort comes from being with women, obviously, but, you know, Ketil is, again, forcing it. Like, he's enforcing it by, this is his slave, so it's not earned, you know, none of this is earned by him. He wants the title of being this warrior so that men will respect him, and then he also wants the comfort of a woman, but he has done nothing to earn either one of them. And that's the problem. And then when he finds out that Arnheid has gone back to her alpha Chad husband that came back, or, you know, the other escaped slave, well, Ketil gets extremely jealous, and then he starts, again, this is just like, you know, if a guy messages a girl on Tinder and she blows him off and he starts calling her a bitch, it's like, please comfort me, and then the moment that she doesn't want to, it's like, well, fuck you, bitch, you know. So he's got that beta male mentality, and he immediately wants to beat her, like literally physically beat her with a stick. And this is something that I don't believe that Ketil has ever been, you know, very violent towards any of his slaves, especially Arnheid. But he's just so his weakness is put on display in so many ways. One, from everything that happened back with the king, you know, with Canute and his son, and you know, bringing the king to his shores, and then he wants that kind of semblance of power, and then he learns that the woman, you know, is with somebody else. I'm spending a lot of time on Ketil here, I'm sorry, but it really affected me when I was reading this. I was like, man, this guy is so, like, pathetically weak. And then, of course, he starts beating her. He doesn't know that she's pregnant, and it's like, ugh. And Snake stops him, which was great. And you know, Snake doesn't want to see this happen. He feels that she should be punished, but he doesn't want to see her beaten to death. But he's like, you know, she is your slave, so if that's what you want to do, continue. But I'm just letting you know, if you keep this up, that you're going to kill her. And unfortunately, it leads to that being the case. So I'll go back to the battle here in a second, but I'll just talk about Arnheid for a moment. And what I felt from her is, one, just this overwhelming sadness of what happened. And as she's kind of in and out of consciousness from being beaten, she's having the visions of her husband, or the other escaped slave. I'm sorry, I really can't remember his name at the moment from the last volume, but she's with him. And, you know, he's saying to her that she needs to say thank you to the people that helped her, to Thorfinn, to Einar, you know, before she's able to pass on. But she's just in and out of consciousness, and Thorfinn is there, and so is Einar, and they're trying to get her back to consciousness and everything, trying to get her back to life. And Thorfinn can't think of what he wants to say, and I already knew it was coming before it came, and that was Thorfinn basically realizing that she is about to pass on, and he gives her that comfort of the idea of Vinland, you know, a place of peace, a place of prosperity, a place where the vegetation is luscious and the sun is always out, and it's just like this magical world, which in a way kind of relates to like the idea of heaven, you know, in religion and whatnot. Very a way to kind of comfort people in death, to give them that kind of comfort that you know, once you die, you're going to go to this amazing, wonderful, luscious place. You know, it's the same kind of idea, and it's a way to ease the pain and suffering of somebody about to die. And I love that he went to Vinland, because that's what he saw his father do to the dying slave in the first volume. So I really like that kind of come full circle. Also, Leif Erikson was there, and so we have our team now of Leif coming to get Thorfinn. Einar's going with them, and it was just nice to see them all together. And upon Arnheid's death, I really like how, because Einar, you know, he's full of rage and everything, and he wants to go punch Ketil and kick the shit out of him for what he did and everything. And Thorfinn even, well, they both punch each other. Einar punches Thorfinn to get him away from him, and then Thorfinn punches Einar to put him down. And obviously Thorfinn can punch much harder, because he's been hardened through battle and whatnot. And I love how he tells Einar, you know, like, first of all, I love how they called each other brother. I thought that was so freaking heartwarming. Like, I was shedding man tears with that. That was fantastic. But also he says, you know, please don't be suffering with the same curse that I am. You know, you could kill Ketil right here, but your rage, your pain will not go away if you do that. You know, it's he's doing it for Einar. And I think that's the thing when you see stuff like this in media, because some people don't like it in stories, which is like, it's just like, get the vengeance, you know, kill the guy, whatever. But stories like Vinland Saga and some of the other stories that do it, not all of them, but are taking a much more realistic approach when it comes to things like this, because it's not just about the catharsis of the hero getting vengeance, it's about what happens to the psychology of somebody that goes through with that vengeance. Because somebody like Einar, who is for more or less a peaceful person, you know, a guy that knows all about farming and planting wheat and everything like that, he hasn't been through all these kind of horrible battles, he's not a hardened person, you know, he's a man of peace, really, that if he were to go through with this, it would screw him up psychologically. It would, you know, to get a taste of bloodshed, you know, that far into life, and doing it from such an emotional standpoint, not even from sort of a sense of like purpose or duty or to help other people thrive or anything like that. You're doing it purely out of like your rage and emotion. That's going to destroy you. And Thorfinn knows this, and I love how he was able to tell that to Einar, and they were able to call each other brother, and they were able to bury Arnheid and shake hands and just say, you know, we are going to find Vinland and we're going to establish a society of peace. That is our goal. It's so ambitious. It's so just over the top, and I absolutely love it. I love that they're calling each other brother. They are brothers as far as I'm concerned, so I love their relationship with one another. But let's get to the battle itself. So Canute does show up to take the farm, and he has fewer men than the farmhand has, but these are all men. These are the Jones Vikings. Floki is there. Fuck that guy. I can't. Again, chances like Floki and Thorfinn don't meet, and I don't even know if Thorfinn understands that Floki was the one that set up his father's death. I don't know. That's still a plot line that has yet to be resolved. But anyways, Canute is there, and they just start wreaking havoc on everybody that chose the battle for the farm. And Thorgil, Ketil's son, was able to kind of rally the troops to fight against a common enemy without letting them know that the enemy was the king himself, Canute. So once they were there, they were kind of stuck, and they let their pride take over. So he knew what he was doing, and he was basically using them as a bit of a distraction, as well as Thorgil planned to assassinate Canute himself by kind of sneaking around the dock and then you know, swimming through the water to get Canute from behind. And this was a fantastic moment for several reasons. One, because Canute was actually, because he has been training in swordplay, was able to get his sword up quick enough to block Thorgil's blow, which was fantastic, even though he fucked his sword up and couldn't do much after that. But it was still showing that Canute's training has been paying off. And then what's the guy's name? Canute's the soldier in charge of protecting him. Shoot, I can't remember his name. Well, anyways, so he comes kind of roaring back and then has a great fight with Thorgil. Thorgil like rips the dude's eye out, like literally like fish hooks his eye and then pulls him off of him like that. And then Canute comes back in with a sword. There was a great play going back and forth here. But eventually Thorgil was warded off and he kind of swam back, and then you know, what happens with him also is kind of left open-ended, because we find out that because Ketil is kind of unconscious, he was in the battle too, and he got knocked down and whatnot. And so the authority of what happened to the farm went to the person that Ketil decided, which was his other son, Olmar, who just decides, you know, that we should surrender, because this isn't like he is scared, he's terrified, he is you know, he is weak. Also, he is weak, and he is okay with it. He's okay because he doesn't want to see any more bloodshed or any more violence happen. And he's like, it's okay. I don't care what you think of me. Let's give up. This is not worth it. Snake is there too, and we learn, of course, that he was trained by who Ketil represents himself as, but obviously we know that Ketil is not actually that guy, but he still felt some sort of loyalty to Ketil for, you know, housing him, giving him a place when he was at his lowest point and whatnot. So Snake has been fighting along this entire time to try to like pay back the debt from staying at this farm and being able to, you know, taking all this free food and everything that he's been done. He's basically been mooching off the farm for years on end now. So he felt some sort of like obligation to battle. But once Olmar said that we're done, again, he feels obligation to the farm. So Thorgil is just there for the fight itself, because this guy is similar to Thorkel as sort of this like vicious like warmonger type, whereas Snake is here out of an obligation to, or out of a self-fulfilling obligation of loyalty to the farm itself. So whatever the farm ultimately decides is what side Snake is going to fall on. So if they want to surrender, all right, we'll surrender. But before they get a chance to, and this was the crowning moment of the entire arc for me, for what I felt for Thorfinn here, because they have a chance to escape, but Thorfinn decides that he is going to go and try to stop this battle, and he's going to do it without violence. He's going to do it without a sword. He's going to do it without anything. He's just going to go up and ask if he could talk to the king, because he knows Canute from back in the day. And what Thorfinn does is try to figure out a way to make sure that violence is a last resort, to make sure that fighting is the ultimate last resort. So what can you do in a particular situation to end the situation without bloodshed, without fighting? According to Thorfinn, he doesn't know these people. He doesn't know, they are not his enemies. They just met today. There's no sense for them to fight each other, to kill each other. So he goes up and asks to talk to the king, which obviously they find ridiculous. So one of the guards just starts beating the shit out of Thorfinn, like to get him out of here. And while they're doing that, the other guards are kind of watching and taking bets on how many hits Thorfinn can take, because the guy tries to punch him out, and Thorfinn is okay, because Thorfinn knows how to take a punch. He knows how to move his body just slightly enough, you know, when the punch is being thrown. He knows how to loosen himself up. He's been through this. So they start taking bets on how many punches that this guy can take, and Thorfinn's like, how about I place the bet too? And he's like, how about if I can withstand 100 punches, you let me talk to the king. And they accept it. And so Thorfinn sacrifices his own body, his own well-being, to achieve an end through peace. And he lets himself get hit 100 times by this dude, who's no joke. This dude is big, right? And I'm sure as the guy got closer and closer to 100, the punches became a lot weaker, because punching does take a lot out of you. Like, it actually is pretty, like, exerting. Like, go punch a bag a couple of times with, like, real good solid punches. Like, you get winded, right? So if you're punching somebody 100 times, probably by, like, I don't know, punch 50, the dude's punches are pretty weak after that. But anyways, Thorfinn still takes it. He gets his face completely fucked up. And the guy's like, wow, like, you are all right, fine. We'll let you talk to the king. You're amazing. And Thorfinn is amazing for doing this, because this is just, imagine being in front of all those people, and you're in the midst of a war, or not a war, but like a big battle for something. And, you know, he's truly trying to stay true to his vow of nonviolence and to what his father taught him from long ago. I was amazed with what Thorfinn was able to do to accomplish this goal, and he actually managed to do it. He actually managed to get an audience with King Canute, which was a great thing to see them kind of reunited after all this time. I do love how he brought Einar with him for Einar to tell him off, and Einar's like, you know, you don't know what you're talking about, like, look at all this shit that you've done. And I love that he just, like, was able to go off on him, because you know what, Einar deserved that. After everything he went through, like, falling for Arnheid and all that, and not taking the vengeance against Ketil and everything, Einar needed to vent, to release, to get that kind of frustration out. And I love that he was actually able to do it face to face with the king himself. Now, Canute's idea here, his strategy for what he's trying to do, I'll be honest, it did kind of confuse me, and I did try to read it 2 or 3 times to grasp the idea of what Canute was getting at. So I might have this completely wrong, but I think that Canute is saying that what he is trying to do is to unite all of these Vikings, which are known to be like the most vicious and violent, you know, war-hungry, war-mongering group of people, and get them all under his leadership, all under his command, so that eventually there won't be anybody left to fight, because they'll all be with him on his side underneath his kind of rule. So what Canute is trying to do is create a world of peace. But to do that, he's got to get all of these warriors on his side. He's got to bring everybody together. He's got to unite them. And unfortunately, he can only do that, he feels, through this kind of conquering and violence to begin with. So once he conquers enough, they'll all become unified together. I think that's kind of the idea of what he's saying. And correct me if I'm wrong. But basically, Canute and Thorfinn have the same ultimate end goal, but they're doing it through completely different means, whereas Thorfinn is trying to do it through non-violence, where Canute is doing it through conquering, which in itself is just absolute violence. So when they're able to talk to each other and find that common ground, and Canute sees how different Thorfinn has become, they both become so different. They've both become completely like a 180 difference from where they were before. Thorfinn, this kind of revenge-fueled madman, now trying to solve things with peace and words, and Canute, this kind of fearful, scared little child, now becoming a cold-hearted ruler. I mean, they're both such different men from where they knew each other before, and yet they were able to, in a way, kind of find this common ground, and Thorfinn succeeds, and he actually is able to get Canute to leave the island, which to the dismay of the Joms Vikings and Floki and everybody that was there, kind of pissed off about it, and so was Thorgil, who was still ready to fight on the farm side, but he managed to make it happen, and Canute was actually okay with Thorfinn doing what he was doing. He was like, that's great, you know, you try it your way, and I'm gonna see, that's the thing, like, is he still gonna try to do it his way? Like, has Canute, because of the influence of Thorfinn from that conversation, has Canute changed his ideas at all, or is he still going to try it through the methods that he is? Because, I mean, Canute is a real historical character, right? So, like, he still has to do what the real Canute done. Like, I don't know the history of what's Vinland Saga is covering. This is all fiction to me. I don't know the actual history of what's happening, so I don't know if this is going in line with history for Canute, or I don't know if the author is taking his own liberties with history and changing it up and doing a Tarantino thing. Like, I don't know what the actual history is, but I can imagine that Canute might be a little bit influenced, a little bit swayed from what Thorfinn said, and maybe that's a bit helpful to getting him out of that kind of dark place where he's seeing his father's severed head everywhere, every decision that he makes, because he was actually able to smile, he was actually able to laugh. Thorfinn got a laugh out of him, and this is something that Canute probably hasn't done for a very long time, so maybe it's kind of dissipating that sort of lingering memory of his father behind him. I don't really know, but we'll see what happens with that. Other than that, this volume ends, and the arc ends with Thorfinn returning to Iceland after all this time, which was crazy. Like, can you imagine? Like, he's been gone since he was 6, and now he's back at, like, what, 2021, something like that? So, long time. But even though his sister refuses to believe that it's really him, at first his mother instantly believes, which I thought was very heartwarming. It's just one of those things where, like, you know, a mother is always going to know her child, no matter what he goes through, how much he changes, you know, she'll always sense it. She'll always be able to tell, you know, who her child is. And so Thorfinn has returned to Iceland, and Einar's there with him. Leif Erikson is there, so yeah, we're going to see what happens with that. I wonder what's going to happen from now on, if Thorfinn is just going to try to settle up and start like a world of, you know, if he's, because him and Einar had decided that they're going to try to build Vinland, so are they going to travel and in search of it, in search of the new continent, and in order to set that up? I don't know. What's going to happen with Canute? Is he going to change his ways? And then we left the characters, you know, Snake and everybody, they're back at the farm, so I don't know if we're going to see them again. I don't know if Snake was a farm arc only character, or if he's going to return. Thorgil, of course, is off somewhere too, and this guy, you know, he was pissed that because he wanted to fight and he almost assassinated the king and then didn't get to. I would love to see a fight between Thorgil and Thorkel. I think that would be amazing. My only gripe about this entire arc is there wasn't enough Thorkel, but I really hope there's some more of him moving forward. I love him as a character, but other than that, like I said, I think this arc is a crowning achievement of Vinland Saga, a crowning achievement of seinen manga to begin with. I loved the ideas and philosophies that were heading through this arc, the character development of Thorfinn, how he starts this arc just being absolutely depressed and just accepting his life as a slave, to being able to fight without fighting, to be able to find that way. What is the course of a true warrior? It's to fight without fighting. And I love the development between Canute and everything that's happening with him, how different these characters are. Einar, I love him as a character. I'm so happy for his introduction. And it ends with Thorfinn making his way back to Iceland. So that I just can't wait to see what's going to happen with him. What is he going to want to do? Is he going to want to start a family? Is he going to just go straight to try to find Vinland? You know, what is going to happen with these characters? I absolutely adore this story and its philosophies and what it is doing with Thorfinn and the journey that he has gone on, and I just wow, like, I can't wait to see what's going to happen next. So let me know what you guys think about the finale of the farm arc. What did you think about it? What were your favorite aspects of it? Did you like the escaped slave segment the best? Did you like this final battle the best? Did you like, what did you like best about it? What called out to you? What resonated to you? And how do you feel about Thorfinn's philosophy of being able to fight without fighting? Do you think it'll work for him? Do you think it's silly? Do you think it's stupid? Is it something that you would laugh at, or is it something that you would be able to do? Could you take 100 punches from somebody just to do the right thing without violence? Could you do it? I don't know. I don't know if I could do it. Maybe. But yeah, thank you guys very much for watching. I do appreciate it. Thanks for the support in the meantime while my channel is kind of in limbo. Other than that, in the link below you will find the Discord link, so you can join that and chat with me and some other people in there that are fun. There's the Patreon link, which a couple of tiers in there. It also helps you support the channel, so give that a consideration if you will. Please give the video a like, thumbs up, share it with other Vinland Saga fans. Other than that, guys, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you next time.